Welcome to the Pursuing Points podcast, where it's all about the pursuit of credit card points and miles today so that you can travel the world free of charge tomorrow. And now, your host, Peter Foti.
Hello, Pursuing Points podcast listeners. Welcome back. This is the 21st episode of the Pursuing Points podcast. I'm your host, as always, Peter Foti. Just to kick things off, of course, I get a lot of emails, people asking why haven't I done an episode in a while. Honestly, I don't have a great answer other than I'm here now, and my hope and goal is to do as many as I can. So there's a lot that's been going on in the credit card and points world as of late, and of course, I still stay up to date on everything because it's just part of sort of my daily habit, if you will. As far as like being subscribed to various newsletters and reading what the credit card companies are putting out, because of course it affects me personally. And then of course the goal of the show is to sort of give my opinion on it. So that's what we're going to do today. Anyone who is a Chase Sapphire Reserve card holder would have received an email back in late May talking about important information about your Chase Sapphire Reserve rewards and benefits. So for those of you who aren't aware, the Sapphire Reserve is the card that I've probably talked about more on this show than any other card. I do that, and honestly, it's also the card that when people ask me, because generally the way it'll work is I will tell someone that I have a podcast about credit cards, and then the first question they ask is, what card should I get? And of course, depending on how much time we have, I'll go into my full spiel and ask them various questions to try to get them set up with the right product. But when all else fails, and this, the Sapphire Reserve is, in my opinion, the best credit card, at least if you're interested in earning points to redeem towards travel. And I believe that for a number of different reasons, most of which I've enumerated on previous shows. But the high level is you get 3 points per dollar on travel and dining, which, at least for me personally, that's where I spend a lot of my money. In fact, now that I live in New York City, you could argue it's where I spend almost all of my money. Those points can be redeemed for travel at a 50% bonus if you do so through the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal. You can also transfer them to a various number of partners like United Airlines and Korean SkyPass. It has a $300 a year travel credit, meaning if you spend, on your first purchase of the year, you spend $350 on a plane ticket, you're going to get $300 of that back. There are other benefits. I've enumerated them in previous podcasts and blog posts, so I encourage you to check those out. But the purpose of this podcast is not to talk about that, but to talk about this email and what the changes are and what they mean. And like I said before, this podcast is not meant to break the news, right? It's more of an opportunity for me to provide commentary on the news. So by now, you're probably all well aware of this, and what I want to do today is just talk about it. So the first thing that they talk about in the email is enhanced ultimate rewards. And basically what it says is that at some point soon, inside of the Ultimate Rewards portal, you're going to have premier event access to tickets and seating, special gift card offers, new air and hotel packages, etc. So right before I sat down to record this, I went on to the Ultimate Rewards portal and I did some clicking around. And the first thing that I did was I wanted to see what they were talking about with regards to the premier event access to tickets and seating. Anyone who remembers it would have been early January, so probably the first podcast of 2018, I talked a lot about my SPG Moments experience, and that was I was able to use about 60,000 star points. I got 4 tickets in a box at Madison Square Garden to see Phish with me and 3 friends. It was an incredible experience. It was so incredible that it actually shifted some of shifted my strategy, if you will, for how I wanted to earn points in 2018. It also shifted my perspective of how I want to redeem them moving forward. I would encourage you to listen to that podcast. And then the reason I'm bringing it up is that Chase didn't necessarily have a very good way of redeeming your points for a similar thing at that point in time, which is why I went ahead and signed up on the show for the Marriott Premier Rewards card, which of course is now changed, and we can talk about that in a future episode. But Chase I think Chase is kind of lagging behind in this arena. So with these changes, I wanted to look at their website and see what they were offering. What I found was that I think that they're still lagging behind. Basically, if you come on here, you see most of it is culinary stuff. So you've got some chefs who some of you may or may not have heard of. I personally have not heard of any of them, but that's not necessarily a statement on the chefs themselves. It's a testament to the fact that I don't really know much about the culinary arts. For instance, you could use 15,000 points, or you could pay $150 to go to Chase Sapphire Private Dining Series comes to Denver. Join us at the Mercantile for a private dining event featuring Chef Alex Seidel. If stuff like that is what you're interested in, I think that's fantastic. For me personally, it's not what I'm interested in, so I'm not going to use my points nor my money on stuff like that. I'm more interested in sports and other live entertainment. With Chase, they have some opportunities with the Arizona Diamondbacks to go watch batting practice. You can go to the New York Rangers, which is NHL hockey. You can go to their draft party. They've got a few different concert things, but most of it is culinary based. It's a lot of chef stuff, private dinners and things like that. Now, I do think that this is presented much nicer than it was before. This stuff used to come in an email, and I think it still does, but now as soon as you log into Ultimate Rewards, there's a experiences tab that you can click on. And even if you don't want to redeem your points for stuff like this, because the value is basically 1-to-1, right? It's 20,000 points is $200. Just the fact that you have access to these things, I think, is what's valuable. So personally, if I was going to go to the New York Rangers draft party, for instance, I would just probably pay for it rather than use points, because I would want more value out of my points than what they're offering. So I think they're still lagging far behind other players. I think Starwood is way ahead. At the same time I pulled up Chase, I pulled up Starwood before I did this episode, and they've got, it looks like 147 upcoming moments. And these are really what I would consider top of the line, right? So for me personally, I live in New York City, so Madison Square Garden is that's where a lot of the the big live entertainment, that's where you're going to find them. SPG has opportunities for you to buy suite tickets, a lot of sporting event stuff. You can go to it says score suite tickets and a meet and greet with an NHL alumni at the 2018 NHL draft. Like, that would be awesome. And if that were in New York City, I would seriously consider trying to do something like that. Of course, they have their own culinary stuff as well, but they've also got some big-time music people on here, Pearl Jam, Harry Styles. So basically, the TLDR is that from a Chase perspective, I don't necessarily think that they've upped their game too much in the Premier Event Access space, if you will. I think it's worth checking out. Of course, it's no cost to us other than the annual fee we pay, which I think is sort of made up for in other ways. But that in and of itself isn't necessarily enough for me to recommend the Sapphire to someone who I wasn't going to recommend it to. The other stuff, special gift card offers, I personally have no interest in those, and generally I'll recommend that people don't use their points for things like that, because it's not a great value. But like I've said on this show before, value isn't everything. So if for some reason, they have a gift card that you can't find, which I think would be pretty interesting, but, or maybe they're offering a huge discount, right? Those are sort of a case-by-case basis, but I'm not super interested in that. The rest of the stuff, more flight options, wider selection, and travel partners, I haven't seen a ton of that as far as wider selection. I mean, everything I search for is pretty much, drop the microphone a little bit. The stuff that I look for is kind of always there. It does say you have the option to split tickets for added flexibility, but I haven't tried to do that yet, unfortunately. And then lastly, the wider selection of travel partners. Just as a recap, with Chase, you have access to 9 travel partners. Those are Air Club, British Airways, Flying Blue, which is Air France KLM, Iberia Plus, Korean Sky Pass, Singapore Airlines, Southwest Airlines, United, Virgin Atlantic, and then From the hotel side, it's IHG, Marriott, Ritz-Carlton, and the World of Hyatt. So that's all that stuff. But the more interesting changes are really what I want to spend some time talking about. So the first one is that you're no longer, and the reason I want to talk about them, let me just be clear. I've had some people ask me if they still think that Chase is worth it given these changes. The spoiler alert, short answer, yes. But let's go into the longer answer. So the first one is you're no longer going to earn points on purchases that qualify for the $300 annual travel credit. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but just to recap. So the $300 travel credit is afforded to everyone who has a Chase Sapphire Reserve. And every year on your, I believe it's account anniversary, so that would be account year, not calendar year. Although I think they may have changed that. I'll have to update that in the show notes. So every year, you're afforded a new $300 credit. When you log into your Chase Ultimate Rewards portal, you actually see how much of it you either still have available to you or how much of it you've used. So in my case, it says I've already received the full $300 in travel credit. And it actually says annual travel credit will begin your statement closing date, which is 12/18. So you'll have to see if that's different for you. I presume that it is. That credit is earned when you spend the first $300 on combined purchases in the travel category. So you spend $50 on a rental car, you spend $100 on a hotel, you spend $200 on a flight. Sum total, you're going to get $300 of that back, right? And in years past, or at least since the card has been around, when you earn that $300 in credit, you were also earning 3 points per dollar on every dollar that you spent, meaning you earn 900 Ultimate Rewards points because you spent $300 on travel and that earns 3 points per dollar. Moving forward, you'll no longer earn the 900 points. Simple back of the envelope calculation, 900 points, $9. You could argue times 0.5, so you're looking at $13.50. That is certainly not enough for me to say that the Chase Sapphire Reserve is no longer a good enough card to sign up for, right? Those changes this change as well as the other ones we're going to talk about go into effect August 26th. So you still have a little bit of time if you sign up now to still take advantage of it. But the bottom line is what you're effectively leaving on the table is 1,350 points after the bonus. And while it was nice that they awarded us those points to begin with, I'm not super concerned the fact that they're taking them away. Typically, and it was funny because in the lead up to these sort of announced changes, the forums and the Facebook groups were sort of rampant with speculation as to what Chase would do. Because the typical path is that a credit card company releases a new product with a great sign-up bonus and all these incredible features. People sign up in droves. Some of them take advantage of it, seeking loopholes and other means of accruing benefits that they're not necessarily that the credit card companies didn't necessarily expect to have to give them. And what we often see is then the companies come back in a year or two and they quote unquote nerf the product, meaning they cut its legs out and they reduce the benefits, right? So the speculation was that Chase would get rid of the travel credit altogether, right? Or they might go from 3 points to 2.5 points, or the 50% bonus goes to 40%, right? Those were the things that people were expecting. And I think the fact that all Chase did, and this is their biggest change of the three we'll talk about, the fact that they just got rid of that, I think is awesome, right? That's just like, okay, you guys are handling your business, and we're going to continue to handle ours. We appreciate you as customers. This was the one thing we wanted to sort of pulling the reins on a little bit. And frankly, as a consumer, I see no problem with it. Was it nice to earn those extra 900 points? Sure. But in the grand scheme of things, if this is the trade-off for us keeping all those other benefits I mentioned, I think it's fantastic. The next thing is the price protection benefit. Depending on how much you use this, this may or may not be something that is a huge turnoff for you. Basically, it says the price protection will no longer be available with your Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Now, I had never taken advantage of price protection. I mean, I knew what it was, but it wasn't something I ever took advantage of. So basically, if the way it worked was, if you purchased something and then it was advertised at a lower price within 90 days, you could be reimbursed for the difference. So you bought it for $100 on Amazon. Best Buy is now selling it for $95. You can submit a price protection claim to Chase and get the $5. This was a great consumer perk, and I think it made a lot of sense for a long time. My feeling, though, is that the reason that they got rid of this is now people have automated this process, right? So before, this was either you were an extreme coupon cutter, right, and you kept an eye on the prices, or more likely for large items, you bought a TV for $1,000, you bought a fridge, whatever. For large items, maybe you kept an eye on it. But for everything else, right, the $100 thing and the $50 thing, you probably weren't tracking the price after you bought it. But websites came out and basically said, hook us into your email or your credit card. We'll look at the purchases you've made, and we'll also track Amazon and Best Buy and Walmart and Target or whatever. And every time we see that you've made a purchase, we'll track the price for you automatically. So this was great for consumers because they could get some money back, but it's bad for the credit card companies because now everyone's taking advantage of this, right? Part of the benefit of these products, right? Like I would pretty much guarantee that not everybody takes full advantage of the $300 annual travel credit. But I'll bet if every single person did, that credit would probably get reduced they would probably lower the value of it, right? So there's some level of leeway built into these perks where they don't expect everyone to make use of them all the time. And if they do, right, now that's, in their eyes, that's sort of the worst case scenario. And so now they have to rein it in. So in some ways, the people who are using those bots and other automated means of taking advantage of the price protection benefit sort of ruined it for the rest of us. If you're someone who did use those, I would love to hear from you. Because like I said, it's not something I ever ventured into. And of course, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just now that everyone is doing it, Chase decided to put an end to it. So if you have used something like that, I'd love to hear from you why and how it worked out for you. But that benefit is no longer available. The last item is, what does it say? It says Priority Pass Select Access. Once the benefit is activated, primary Chase Sapphire Reserve cardholders and authorized users are granted complimentary access to the Priority Pass lounges and allowed a maximum of 2 guests per Priority Pass Select membership card. If you'd like to bring additional guests, your Chase Sapphire credit card account will be charged $27 per guest, etc. This is the type of thing, if you have a large family, right, maybe you personally travel for business, that's why you have the Sapphire Reserve card, and you bring your family on vacation. If you're a family of 4, it's going to cost you $54 to get all of you in there, right? Or excuse me, family of 4, it's going to cost you $27 because you, 2 guests, plus 27 for the 4th. You'll have to decide if it's still valuable for you at that point. My position is that if you've got a long layover, you're in a crowded airport and you want some space and some time and some snacks and some good Wi-Fi, it's probably still worth it. Lounge access is something that I don't think I wouldn't consider it polarizing, but it's definitely one of those things that people either really value it as a perk or people don't value it at all, right? Some of the people that I speak to who aren't necessarily as into credit cards or travel as I am, when I talk about things like lounge access or sitting in first class, right, things that I really value, and that's sort of why I play this game, a lot of times what I hear from them is that those are things that they don't care about at all, right? They want to get to the airport at the last possible second, scan their ticket, get on the plane, get off, get out of the airport as soon as possible. Whereas me, I have no problem showing up early, going to a lounge, having a drink, getting a snack, etc., maybe getting some work done. When I'm on the plane, that's, if I'm traveling for pleasure, that's part of my experience, right? Sitting in first class as an example. So for me, it's not all about getting in and out, spending as little money as possible, right? It's all part of the sort of holistic experience. And so lounge access is a big part of that, right? Like the Centurion lounges are great. I spent a lot of time at the Delta Sky Club lounges. I personally have never been to a Priority Pass lounge, even though I do have access with my card. But I've heard good things from people who have. So this change, it probably won't affect most people. But for those of whom it does affect, you'll have to decide if it's still worth it at that point in time. So all of the changes that we just discussed go into effect on August 26th, which today is June 17th. So we're still about 2 months out. And I also think that this is great from Chase, giving people this much notice, right? So they sent this email, like I said, on May 21st. August 26th is the date, so 4 months, right? So if you're someone who your annual fee is coming up and you're sort of trying to decide between do I keep it or do I cancel it, right? They gave you 4 months to sort of weigh these factors in helping you make that decision. So in my opinion, if you were thinking about canceling it for other reasons, perhaps these are going to push you over the edge if you made use of some of these other benefits. But I think for most people, right, these really aren't that big of a deal. I still think the Sapphire Reserve is the best travel credit card. It's the one I recommend to more people than any other product. And I would consider either signing up for it or keeping it in your wallet. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'm sort of upset with myself because I was supposed to talk about this when I talked about Chase and the premier event experiences. And of course I didn't, so now we're going to cover it at the very end here. Little known perk is that, so the Madison Square Garden company owns a number of venues throughout the United States. So they own the Garden, Madison Square Garden. They own the Hulu Theater at MSG, Radio City Music Hall. Those are in New York City. In Chicago, they've got the Chicago Theater. And in Inglewood, they have the Forum. Or in LA, they have the Forum. At these different venues, using your Chase card will get you some benefits. I believe this is, it looks like this is available to all Chase card holders. I was pretty sure it was only the Sapphire, but it looks like it's for all Chase card holders. Basically, I will put the link to this in the show notes because it's kind of too much information, but the short of it is if you're a Chase card holder and you shop at any one of these Madison Square Garden company venues, you can get things like saving some money on merchandise, food and drink offers, get preferred seating, advanced sales. They have a Chase Lounge, which you can be granted access to, which those things actually have complimentary food, beverages, and other benefits. I've never had the chance to go there, but if I ever do, I'll be sure to write about it or at least talk about it. And those benefits apply to all of these venues. So this is sort of an example of a benefit that I'm pretty sure most people don't know about. But if you're someone who lives in one of these cities and you want to try to take advantage of some of this stuff, I would encourage you to do so. And if you do, please reach out. Let me know what you did and what you thought. I always love feedback. So that is that. 23 minutes, 30 seconds for the 21st episode. I'm very happy with that. I plan on doing some episodes in the future around the Starwood Marriott merger acquisition situation. Like I said, I had signed up for the Marriott Premier Rewards card, and that one I had to spend $12,000 to get 120,000 points. I'm nearing the end of that, which is great. And of course, what I'll probably do is transfer those points directly to Starwood at a 1 to 3 or 3 to 1 value. So, well, I shouldn't even say that because once the merger actually happens, the balances are going to be combined anyway. So we'll deal with that as it comes. But, 300,000 some odd points is going to afford me a lot of opportunities to attend some of those events I was talking about. The box seats at Madison Square Garden. I saw in there today you could pay like 20,000 points to throw out a first pitch. So that would be like a great, you take it somebody for a birthday or, I don't know, something cool. Have them throw out the first pitch. I feel like that'd be an incredible present. I've been taking Amtrak a lot, to travel from New York City to Philadelphia. So I want to do an episode talking about Amtrak and their rewards program. And they do have a credit card, but I'm not sure it's really worth it, though that's something we'll talk about in a future episode. I have had a few people reach out with sort of episode recommendations as to things they want me to cover or talk about, and I have plans to do all of that. So if you have something you want me to talk about or questions you have that you'd like me to help answer, I'm available via email. You can go to pursuingpoints.com/contact to reach out, and I will do my best to respond back to everyone. So thank you so much for listening to the 21st episode. We will see you for number 22.